Welcome to the Back 9 Six-Pack with Mitch and Justin. Let's roll. All right, welcome to episode 91 of the Back 9 Six-Pack. My name is Justin. I am here with my esteemed colleague, Mitch. We've switched roles this week, as if you were watching this on YouTube. Mitch and I made a bet, his Boston Commons versus my Los Angeles Golf Club. And he's struggling through it right now. The bet was as if whoever won had to chug a beer, and they couldn't say anything on the podcast until they chugged the beer. And he's paying up a bet right now. My LA Golf Club got it done last Tuesday, and Boston Commons struggled. And poor guy, are you okay? I feel slightly bad about making you pay it up that quickly.
No, it's just so cold. That was the problem.
That's usually not a problem, but when you're trying to chug, it can definitely be a problem.
Yeah, the finest Pilsner, I had to do it to him, but whew.
Are you okay? You go? Yeah, we're finished, right? So you can now talk. You good?
I'm good. I'm okay. Good. Look, I don't Welch on bets. We're good. I paid my dues.
You can just blame it on Rory and all those guys. Adam Scott's the one that played pretty bad, so maybe you just blame this one on Adam Scott.
I honestly, I had a lot of. I knew as soon as I decided to do that, it was going to come back on me. I had no faith. Rory coming off the win, the cross-country travel for everybody, there's no chance.
They were ripe. They were ripe for a beatdown, and that's exactly what happened. So
yeah. Well, nice job on the intro there.
Oh, thank you. Felt weird switching spots. I don't really like it that much, but I appreciate someone that doesn't kick back on a bet that they've made. So good for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, if you're here, please smash the like button. Thank you for that. Subscribe, rate, and review the show. Follow us on social media at Back9Sixpack. Appreciate all of that. We'll also get to some fan mail later in the show. You can always send us fan mail. It's down in the show description. There's a link for it. Send us whatever you want to talk about. I guess while we're here, we can do a little recap of our man meal on Friday.
Sorry.
You're good.
To run out there for a second.
Man meal on Friday was a rousing success.
Maybe too successful. Maybe. Look, I definitely was the one that got out over the skis more than anybody else, and I'm not afraid to admit that.
That's big of you. Yeah. Good dinner. I mean, look, just a good dinner. I won't lie either. I've been battling through whatever is going on. There's sickness abound. Everyone right now that I feel like I know is getting sick. I know you're struggling. I've got like some kind of like weird combo platter of like a head cold, something going on in the congestion, something going on in the stomach, like all kinds of weird stuff. That kind of started for me on Friday/Saturday. So at least we had like a celebratory moment before heading into this dark time.
Yeah, it was fun though. Precinct, shout out to the Precinct. That's always a great place to go have a rest, or go have a meal, especially a man meal. Just munching down some red meat, some old fashions. We had some pregame Guinnesses. We pretty much made our circulation through all the food groups and the drink groups, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I've seen it many times now, but it never ceases to amaze me anytime I'm witness to seafood gunth. Just throwing back the oysters. You got the steak burro style with the crawfish on it. The man cannot resist any type of seafood or crustacean.
Yes, and he talked me into the barrel cut. I was not going to go that aggressive. It was an aggressive move. It was a lot of meat. And he talked me into it, but I hadn't eaten much all day, kind of trying to save my stomach for the dinner. I mean, look, it was fantastic, but those last couple bites were hard. You mix in the liquids that we had put in our stomach, and the 9 ounces of pure filet that I was putting into my stomach and mashed potatoes. It was a chore at the end there.
Yeah, I fired up the 16-ounce ribeye. Didn't want to go too big with like the 22-ouncer, but 16 will do. And shout out to our guy David who took care of us all night. He was awesome. He's been
Fantastic.
with the Ruby restaurants for like 30 years or something. 40 years, I think it was coming up on
Yeah.
40.
Yep.
So yeah, I've had him before there as well. He's great.
Yeah, I actually had him on my birthday last year when I was down there, and yeah, he's kind of got like a dry sense of humor, which I
Yeah.
appreciate in that environment. So shout out to David for taking care of us. Yeah, and then I got into the Mexican coffee, which is always a risk after a meal like that. But the scoop of ice cream on top of the coffee mixed in with some tequila and some kind of like coffee liqueur, it's too good to pass up. So
I was simultaneously like, okay, it's a good idea I did not do this, and also very jealous when I saw it come out. So like,
dude, it's the scoop of Grater's ice cream on the top that is it's a different level. It's one of my favorite, like, if you talk about dessert drinks, it might be my favorite dessert drink, specifically from that restaurant. So
yeah, interesting. I can see that. The other thing, hit the karaoke bar after. One, good on you that you did not get called up there. I think honestly that was a blessing in disguise.
it was definitely a blessing.
Your song
Yes.
got lost in the shuffle. That was good news. Look, I knew Nick had the goods, right? I've seen him do karaoke many times.
Pipes.
Pipes, yeah. Don't you want to ask Trey Anastasia about my pipes? No, but Gunth absolutely delivered. I had no idea. I was not familiar with his game.
I've seen enough snaps from his wife that they've gone on a couple trips lately. I've seen enough of him on trips doing karaoke that I knew he could deliver the goods as well. Straight country, you know what I mean? Like that's definitely Nick's go-to. Gunth can travel out into different genres every once in a while, but they both got up there and delivered. I don't know, probably like what, 2 songs a piece, maybe 3 songs a piece. I mean, we had a guy butt in on one of Nick's songs when he was killing it. You know, one thing to like start out the song with somebody, but after he's already killing it, and you're like, "Oh, this is my song too," and then you get a microphone, kind of lame. I'll admit it is very lame, but they killed it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Gunth calling Baton Rouge. I kind of expected that one, right? But when he got up there and did "Live Like You Were Dying,"
yeah.
I mean, we had the phone flashlights were out. He was coming by after the fact, giving him compliments. Like it was unbelievable. I truly was like, I was stunned.
Not an easy song to do, by the way. A lot of range in that song.
And it's kind of like a little bit of a downer, but it like has a little bit of upper to it as well. So like, you don't think it's like it's not your stereotypical like crowd pleaser, right? But brought the house down.
But people appreciate the artistic ability of someone that can sing that song.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Good call. All right. Well, we're entering a footballless world. Thankfully, on the backs of the Eagles absolutely beating down the Chiefs 40-22. I believe it was 40-6 at one point.
It was. It was 40-6.
We talked last week about how the Eagles could win. I did not see this. This was not on my bingo card.
Yeah. Look, I mean, obviously I was completely wrong about how the game was going to go. I will say this. I think the Chiefs defense played pretty good up to a certain point, right? And then it just got to a point where it's like, it's like we've been on the field the whole game. But you take out like the 2 turnover, like the pick 6, you take those points out, and then like the 2 turnovers that just kind of like gave up massive field position. The Chiefs defense really didn't play bad for 2.5 quarters. They kept Saquon in check. But man, the offense, I can't believe what we witnessed yesterday. A lot of fraudulent talks about Patrick Mahomes coming out of that game. I thought going into the game he was obviously probably maybe the best quarterback, definitely top 3. But he got exposed a little bit last night.
Yeah, it's tough for me to. It feels like he hasn't had a real receiver since Tyreek. And even then, Tyreek was like a little bit of like a one trick pony in some ways, you
Yes.
know? I mean, they
Yeah.
utilize him in different ways, but like it was kind of always the speed thing. I feel like he hasn't, I mean, Rice, I guess, was kind of like becoming that guy. And, Worthy has come on late in the season here. But it does feel, I mean, one, if you don't have time, you can't do anything. But they didn't blitz all game. Like the Eagles brought that pressure with four dudes. So clearly it's an offensive line issue. But like, I mean, he was rattled from go. Like it never felt like he actually settled into the game, I think is what it kind of comes down to.
But we say that, right? So we say it's an offensive line issue. I just think they had a really bad game. Like I don't think it's a
Yeah.
talent thing. I think they had a really bad game because I go back and I was thinking about that. So I went back to the Packers game and I actually watched a little bit of it today. I was like just curious of like how the line went during that game, right? And by the way, the Packers lost their best offensive lineman like on the fourth play of the game. So they were in there playing with a backup guard. They've rotated two guys in. And like those guys were kind of holding up a little bit. Like, yeah, that was definitely the turning point in the game when they lost that guy. But like they weren't like, dude, they were like just letting guys through last night. Just like, there you go. Like it was honestly crazy. And kudos to the defensive line for the Eagles. I know, unfortunately, the MVP can't go to like four people,
Hmm.
but it definitely should have gone to the defensive line for the Eagles. It was incredible to watch. I mean, truly incredible.
Yeah, and I to your point too, I think you're right. They had a bad game. Like Hopkins had that, what would have been like a 40-yard gain, just
Just dropped
fell
it.
down and dropped it.
Yeah.
Kelsey had a couple early drops. It seemed like, when you're in a game like that against a team like that, like the margins obviously are so thin. Maybe if you get one or two of those plays, it at least like looks different. If the Chiefs, we've seen it all year, if they're in a one-score game, they're absolutely live, right? But like
Yep.
once the Eagles stretch that, it's 24-0 at half. Like that, it's
Yeah.
really freaking hard to like if you're the less talented team to be able to like bounce back. I don't
For
care who your
sure. Yeah.
quarterback is.
Well, it's crazy. So Sunday morning, I was in the car. I had ESPN radio on. Shout out to Matt Jones. He's a Kentucky sports guy, but he goes on ESPN on Sundays. Him and Metcalf in the morning, and Hermed was on there, and he said his number one point was if the Eagles can get pressure with four guys, the game's over. And that it was exactly what happened. And it's funny. I went just knowing because I watched this game. It's Packers game, the first game of the season. The Packers' biggest play came on blitzes because the Eagles weren't getting there with four, and they had the blitz, and all of the Packers' big plays came off blitzes. Just because I think the one weakness of that defense is like the individual coverage man to man is not great on the back end. Or it can't, that's like their liability area. So if they have to bring guys and they leave guys on islands, that's when they get in trouble. But if they didn't have to do it at all yesterday. So kind of played right into their hands. And I think a lot of their playoff games, they kind of were able to do that, and they never really had to blitz. And they blitzed a little bit against Matthew Stafford, and he kind of picked them apart a couple times. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I wish they could have gave it to the defensive line because that's probably who deserved the MVP. Not saying Hurts didn't have a good game, but
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say Hurts led the game in rushing with like 70 yards, threw for 220 and two touchdowns, scored a touchdown on the ground. Like he played all. I mean, outside of the one like bad throw that went for an interception. I mean, he only had like 5 incompletions. Like if they're gonna take away Saquon, you have to have a quarterback that can take advantage of that. And clearly, him with those wide receivers, he can.
I think I said that right. Didn't I say something like, yeah, if they got to make Hurts win the game, and kudos to him. They made him like Saquon did nothing really. I mean, what do you have like 60 yards or something like that on the ground for
I think,
him? Not a lot.
Yeah.
They made Hurts win the game, and they have enough talent on the wide receiver front to kind of, he doesn't need to be a hero or anything, but he definitely went out there and won the game. So to say that he shouldn't have won MVP, I'm not saying that. I just think if you're looking at who actually won the game, that defensive line was, I mean, it was an all-time Super Bowl performance by their front four. I mean, it really was.
Yeah. And before we put an end on this, I will shout out real quick my colleagues at PFF. I sent you guys a couple notes today, just like, and they were all from our NFL review show that we have on YouTube. So if you want a little more in depth, like data and analysis of the game, go check that out. They get into like, how Howie Roseman like built the team and like,
It's incredible.
a lot of teams do that, right? They take the offseason, you try to fill the gaps in free agency and do all this stuff. And a lot of times it doesn't work out. But like looking at the history of like the last like 2 to 3 years of the moves that he has made to get the Eagles to where they are now, it's like pretty crazy how it's all worked out. So I would encourage people just to go check that show out if you want a little bit more on the Eagles' victory here.
Yeah, yeah, they did some. I mean, it's funny. They went from like a couple years where they didn't do a lot of things great, especially in the draft, to just like a complete 180 of just not really doing anything wrong for 2 or 3 years. Got them, So it's crazy how he built it. Yeah, I found that pretty interesting. So
Yeah. All right. Last thing on the Super Bowl, you wanted to talk commercials.
I thought there were. I think I told you this. I thought there were like 5 really really good ones. Like 5 like hey, that was pretty good.
Mhm.
My 2 favorites. I thought the Jeep commercial. By the way, I said 36 million. They it cost them $38 million. Had Harrison Ford doing like a monologue about
Yeah.
freedom and all this, and like Jeeps driving through the snow. And I'm a Jeep guy, so like it kind of caught my attention right away. But just like the whole monologue and things like that, and like just the intentions behind it and all that, I thought were really really good. It was really well done. It wasn't a funny commercial by any means, but that was my favorite one. My second favorite one, I will never be able to see Seal in any other way. But the Baja Blast Mountain Dew commercial with Seal singing on a rock as a seal with his face on a seal. Um, just I almost peed myself. Like I like it was
I
too good.
I missed that commercial in real time yesterday, and then like on Twitter today, I saw several like screenshots of it, and I was like, "What the hell happened last night? What?"
It's I'm telling you, like it's gonna ruin how I see him forever. Like I just and it's just too much. And like they put Baja into one of his songs. It was good. It was really, really good. But yeah, like I think you said though, this is not 15 years ago commercials, right? Like it was like everyone was kind of a banger. Um, not the case anymore by any means. But there's still some really really good ones. I think the other one I really liked was I can't remember what food like grocery delivery company it was, but they did a good one where it was like at the end it was like, oh, you forgot like all the stuff was coming down the road, like the broccoli and all and it was like you forgot the milk, and it was like next thing you know, it was like a cow hops on like a motorcycle and was like riding down the road. It was my kids loved it. They thought it was hilarious. So, but yeah, I agree with you though, because you had a pretty hot take. You're like, I don't like the commercials anymore. I'm like, they don't all go as hard as they used to. Um, but there's still a handful of good ones, I think.
Yeah, I guess I made that comment. Like I feel like I used to really look forward to the commercials, and then somewhere I don't even know when, but somewhere along the line I just kind of quit caring. Um, and so yeah, like you were like, I take my pee breaks during the game. I was like, no chance. Like I'm up doing stuff during the commercials. I'm watching the football. So maybe that's really what it is like as life has changed, I gotta either give up football game or commercials. I'm definitely putting the commercials to the side.
Which look, I 100% understand that. Like we kind of had like a couple other kids over here, so like my kids were kind of occupied. And I
Yeah.
told you I was taking my pee breaks during the actual game because I was like, I'm not missing. Like I did because like last year because I was out of town and we were like watching on the beach, and like I was there with a lot of coworkers and stuff. So like I was like talking to people during commercial breaks. So like pretty much every commercial I did not see at all. Oh, the other good one, because I've kind of become a pickleball person, the Nick Ultra commercial. where the older people were like hustling all these young people for Mick Ultras playing pickleball.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you've not played pickleball, every old person that I know is good at pickleball. So there's that. That is a real thing with pickleball. Just because you're young, and it was like we're professional athletes, and like they're starting to smoke them. They're like, in what sport? And it's like, they're just. It was that one was really good too. But yeah. Oh, and I forgot and one more. I swear to God, this is it.
You're
The
good.
Bud Light commercial with Shane Gillis was kind of like rounded out my like top 5 for really good commercials. When he drops the line at the end, they're having like a cul-de-sac party, and this just hits so close to home for us, like being, now middle-aged parents living in a neighborhood. He's like, they're having this big party, and this guy named Phil is up on the boat, like tossing beers out and stuff like that. And he's like, Phil, he's like, get down off the boat. He's like, the HOA is already breathing down my neck.
Yeah.
So it's like, that hit home a little bit. I thought that was pretty good, but yeah, there were some crappy ones that were just like, they didn't really put a lot of thought into them, which is crazy for the $8 million they spend for that slot. So,
right. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to let people behind the scenes real quick here. So I just realized my first mess up of the night. My microphone is playing from my computer, not my actual mic. So do I actually sound okay, or do I need to like?
Yeah, no, you sound fine. I didn't
apologies in advance for anybody if the audio sucks on this, because that's on me. But we're going to keep recording with this microphone here, even though it's not on. On to golf. All right. Best thing you saw in golf this week? Because I got mine. I have 2.
Why don't you go ahead?
One, Jordan Spieth feels back to me. I think
feels very back.
We're trending in the right direction. Knocked off the dust at Pebble, or the rust, excuse me. And kind of, he got himself in contention. There was a point where he had a putt to get to within 3 of Dietrich. Now Dietrich went on to like dominate and close out with like 3 straight birdies, so it didn't really matter. But he was lingering, definitely in there. And I think I texted you. I was like, you know what? I'm ready to unload the full clip at the Masters now. Let's do it.
Look, he's cocaine Spieth. Like that par he made, I think it was on 11 yesterday, was just, what's funny? Like I see him hit the tee shot. You see where the tee shot is. At no point I was like, oh, like there's at no point where like he's not going to make par from here. Like I was like, he still has a chance. Like he's even seeing the ball where it was, he hits a left-handed putter up under the bush, out into like still into the sand, and then gets up and down. Like to me, those are the moments where I'm like, the dude's back. He's absolutely back. He went an insane stretch without any bogeys, which was kind of crazy. I think it actually went through the back 9. I don't think he had a bogey the rest of the back. I think it was like, he had 1 bogey on the week, if I can remember correctly, which is just insane. So
yeah, especially the way he kind of got loose with driver there. So
yeah. People hate on TPC Scottsdale. I think it's a great tour stop, not for the fans. I just think it's like, it's intriguing golf to watch. Like 17 risk reward. Obviously, you have 16 with the crowd, but there's some other holes out there that I feel like, it does demand some really good golf shots, and it's intriguing to watch. I think it's one of the few courses outside like a handful of ones everybody loves that I think is really, really good.
Yeah, I think we talk about this all the time of like it when the line between like birdie and bogey is closer or like more thin. That's when it's the best, right?
Yep.
Like you can go score and you can shoot 20 something under like Dietrich did, but you can also catch a bogey train real fast.
Oh yeah, yeah. We saw some guys with big numbers this week too. There was some, heck, Scotty hit 2 balls in a row Saturday and Sunday into the water on 15. So yeah, that's the number 1 player in the world, who seems nearly impossible to beat, but he played pretty well.
He shot 41 on the back 9 yesterday. So
yeah, exactly.
It can happen to anybody.
It definitely can.
The other one I had is maybe I just haven't been paying attention. I haven't been able to watch much golf lately, but I noticed CBS had like this new like heat map on the fairway.
Yeah.
With like stroke gains, like depending on where you like are on the hole. how likely you are to either gain or lose shots. And there's kind of like a dispersion rate of like, even it wasn't always like, okay, center of the fairway is the best. It was like, okay, this quadrant of the fairway is gaining, people that are in here are gaining more strokes than the people that are on this side of the fairway even. So I like
it
that.
is new this year. Yeah, it is new this year. I've seen it on a couple other tournaments that I've got a chance to watch. But I do love it. It's I think it gets like, because a lot of people would, name a couple like Lou Stagner and Decade Golf and all that. Like, people are becoming like kind of analytical towards golf. So I think it's pretty cool to kind of have those numbers out there. It's like when they hit the fairway, on the right side, it's like, hey, that probably saved him, 0.2 shots hypothetically. So I do love it. I love that they do that now.
And it's a little more in depth, and like, because they've for a long time they've had like the scatter chart of like birdies, bogeys, and pars or whatever.
Yeah.
When you see the heat map for the strokes gain stuff, it just gives you a real sense of like the strategy for the hole and like what players are trying or should be trying to do.
Definitely a better visual, because you get to like round 4 and they were doing that dot chart, and it's like, dude, it's like, I mean, I think I see more black dots over here than over here, but it's like, it doesn't really give you a very good sense of, unless the announcer like circled it and it's like, here's kind of where you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to read in the moment.
Right. So those were two that I had. I guess if I can steal one more, this is either best or worst depending on your perspective, but Ricky's outfit on Thursday, the full camo, it is the worst, but it's also the best because what it gave us is, I have it screenshot saved in my phone of him like up in the trees with the camo on. And I've got that thing prepared for whenever I need it.
And what a tough scene to wear an outfit like that and then withdraw. I mean, just the toughest of scenes for him
shits,
this week.
Man. Going around.
We get that.
Yeah.
I've got one favorite thing this week, and I don't. Man, it's good. It's great, but it's also like the biggest kick in the nuts to the PGA Tour. So Will Chandler, who Monday qualifies, comes in 5th place, gets $400,000 paycheck, gets into the Mexican Open, and the reason it's a big kick in the nuts to the PGA Tour is there's no longer going to be Monday qualifiers after this year, specifically too for the waste management. So I think there's a handful of tournaments they're going to do qualifying for, but like the waste management Monday qualifier, which I think across all Monday qualifiers is the most popular one for people to try to qualify for, as far as like pre-qualification and the actual Monday qualifier. But Will Chandler Monday qualifies, goes out, and the reason it's a big kick in the nuts is that was a life-changing weekend for that guy. Life-changing. I mean, he now gets a guaranteed start, not this week, but the following week, for a guy that has no status. And it just sucks that, we're not going to have that anymore. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a lot of that going around on Twitter as well. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I guess we'll see how it shakes out. Like, but that's the exact example, right? For people like yourself who when they announce the field size reductions and the qualifying reductions, like that's the exact scenario that you were worried about. So I get it.
Yeah, and what's crazy is I think he shot a back 931 playing with the best player in the entire world. He was paired with Scotty Scheffler on Sunday. Just torched it up on the back 9 to get a top 5. So shout out to Will Chandler. Hopefully he plays well in the Mexico Open and maybe finds a way into the next event after that. So
yeah. Okay, well, we kind of alluded to this, but Thomas Dietrich won the WM Phoenix Open by 7 shots.
Domination.
Yeah, I was trying to find, because I was like you. I know you mentioned that you jumped in on Spieth on Saturday. I was looking at the data. I'm like, man, I really want to jump in on like Scotty or one of these trailing guys. But Dietrich strokes gains, where he was doing it like the right, quote unquote, the right way. Like it was approach, it was reliable. It wasn't just like he caught a hot putter. He was ball striking the shit out of it. So I didn't jump in, thank God. It's his first career PGA Tour win. He also had an international win in 2016, so 9 years ago at this point, the Bridgestone Challenge, whatever that was. And he also won a team event with Thomas Peters, his fellow Belgian. That was in 2018, the ISPS Honda Melbourne World Cup of Golf.
Huh.
Do not
Okay.
recall that event happening, but there you go. So yeah, Dietrich, like, he's one of those guys that had a high world ranking for a while, but he's been more known for sort of getting into contention and then collapsing.
Well,
So
it happened to him at Torrey Pines last year.
exactly. So it's
Yep.
always interesting to see when these guys like do break through. Like, okay, is this like, was this the blip of the overall trend, or is this like the monkey off the back and now he's going to potentially burst into the top 30, 20 in the world or whatever?
Yeah, it's crazy how long that guy is. By the way, he's like,
Yeah.
he is insanely long with every club in his hands. But yeah, I'm interested because I remember the Torrey Pines last year. I want to say he had like a 2-shot lead maybe going into Sunday and then kind of fell apart on Sunday. But yeah, not a ton of wins, not a ton of, I don't want to say like pedigree. He's been a name that's kind of been around, but not for winning. So it's going to be interesting to see how this propels him. I don't know if he had an invite to the Masters, but I mean, obviously he does now. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what it does for him.
And I mean, definitely very big in a Ryder Cup year, so could sneak his way onto the team.
Yep. Yes. I'll tell you, man. The closer we get, at least in the beginning of the year, some of these Europeans are playing some really, 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 really good golf, and it is worrisome the way they're playing right now. So
yeah, I think Nick texted me something along the lines of like, I'm really not looking forward to Thomas Dietrich whipping our ass at Bethpage.
Oh man, and think about how perfect that course sets up for him. I mean, it's long, but man, that guy, I think any course for him is going to be driver, wedge, 9-iron, and everything. So
yeah,
definitely a course he could probably get after that in a few matches.
Yep. Rounding out the top 5, Michael Kim with the T2, Daniel Berger also tied for second. So a couple resurgent players. It was good to see Berger back. I freaking love watching Daniel Berger play.
It's interesting to say
Straight
the least.
vibing, baby.
Yeah, it is.
Michael Kim, I saw he posted a huge thread on Twitter today, just kind of
I
about
saw it, but I didn't read it.
So he watched or listened to the No Laying Up podcast with Joe Mayo, who was formerly Victor Hovland's coach. He's kind of known as a chipping expert.
Yeah,
and literally reached out to him, was like, "Hey, teach me how to chip," and put it in play this week, and immediately tied for second and had like a really good around the green week.
that's
So, I mean, hey, that it's always good. Maybe it's tough to know, is that like the quote unquote like the stranger, like you try something new and it works like right away,
yeah,
or if you found something and
yeah.
who knows. And then T4 we mentioned Spieth along with Christian Bezuidenhout. That rounds out the top 5. Some other notables: Justin Thomas was T6. I only point that out because he screwed us last week, and of course T6 this week. T25, Scotty Scheffler. Tough. He was like right there, and was still like the betting favorite for a while, or at least second favorite behind Dietrich. And then, like I said, 31 in the front 9. He birdied 4 of his 6 holes, or first 6 holes, and then dropped 41 in the back. Just like,
Yeah.
I hit a couple balls out of play. Couldn't like get it around the green very well for a little bit, and just, I don't know, coasted in for a 72. Wasn't his best.
Yeah, I guess at the beginning of the week he said felt like he was struggling to get through the ball, and a lot of his misses were just. I mean, well, with his swing, he kind of comes over the top. Yeah, if you don't get through the ball, it's going to be direct pull, maybe even a pull hook. He hit some lefters Saturday and the Sunday when I watched. It was, you could tell he was like searching for something.
Yeah.
That's what surprised me on Sunday when he came out at 31. I'm like, all right, maybe he like found something, but kind of all crumbled on the back 9 there. So
for sure. And then last but not least, T44, our pick, Tom Kim, still stinks. He was right there after 2 rounds, and then 72, 73 on the weekend.
Yeah, I'm done
Not
with
gonna
that.
get it done. Yeah, we're done. This is no longer a Tom Kim podcast.
I'm glad that we cannot pick him anymore. So
yeah, that's tough. We're struggling in the one and done. We have now his T44.
Surprise.
Yeah, his T44 only netted us around 30K. We've dropped to 3,157th place. That's like the back third of the field. Good news is we're only like 800K out of the money line. Bad news is there are people that have a couple wins already, and we have
Jeez.
one top 20.
God.
Precisely one. So we got some work to do here. We've got $330,319 banked. But good news, we're heading to a signature event. Genesis Invitational, unfortunately not being played at Riv, but a repeat, running it back at Torrey Pines, all in the South Course, though, so we don't have to mess around with the North
Thank God.
Course. I saw, and I don't know, I haven't checked lately, but saw it looked like a little weather coming through early in the week, but no cut event. Hopefully you just survive that. And yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with the setup. If it's going to play more like the Farmers plays, or are we going to go like U.S. Open style here, make it a little more penal?
Well, yeah, I would guess that with the limited field that they're not going to be worried about getting golf in, right? So they can probably make it play a little harder. I think they're going to be a little weary about maybe making the greens as fast as they were for the Farmers because they had some issues with, especially if weather rolling in, like they had some issues with balls oscillating and things like that. But as we know, like fast greens doesn't really do a lot for these guys, but like tight and long rough can really make guys struggle. So yeah, I would guess that it's going to play a little harder, at least from tee to green, I would assume.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we need money. We need it bad. I kind of think we got to go to the top of the board here.
We are. Yeah. And that's, I mean, the person that I have in mind is, let's see, they're top 5 in odds. So
Okay.
if you were betting on it,
so are you thinking Hideki?
yes, I am.
I figured you'd think Hideki. Okay. Sell me.
I mean, he just plays really good in the biggest events. I mean, it just feels, I mean, I think Torrey Pine sets up well for him. I don't think there's any bad courses for Hideki. But yeah, I think especially if it does play really tough tee to green, I really, really like him at that point. And I think that's probably how it's going to play.
Yeah, my only thing is, like, he used to kind of beat up Torrey Pines, and it's kind of had his number recently. Like, he's not, like, missing the cut, but he's, like, T20, T30, T whatever. Versus, like, back in the day, it was like, okay, you could lock him in for a top 15, top 10 at Torrey. Did win, obviously, earlier this year. Seems like he's totally fine. I do like your angle of, like, if it plays tough, he's kind of a guy you want to have because he's going to probably hit a lot of fairways and greens and hopefully not catch some of that big trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seriously tempted to burn Scotty or Rory. And I know it sounds crazy.
It scares me. The only thing with Scotty is it scares me with the 41 on the back.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe some lingering injury stuff that he's kind of like trying to feel through right now.
Yeah.
I would love him further away from the injury for sure.
I think I'm with you on that. I hate to burn Rory, but I also feel like I never have used him in the right spot. It's also tough when he's coming off a win. Like it always feels like tough to take a guy off a win, you know?
I know. And then it's like, I don't know. I mean, he played okay in TGL when they lost, but I mean, I know that's simulator golf, but like it's still ball striking too. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
His last 4 times out at Torrey, from most recent to least. So T7, I believe that was a U.S. Open in 2021. T16 at Farmers that year. T3 2020 and T5 at 2019. Like this is a Bombers track, and he's coming off the win. I don't know. It makes me nervous, but I kind of want to use Rory.
Look, I talked you into Tom Kim, so if you want to use Rory, we can use him. I definitely just know we got to use someone at the top of the board here.
I know what's going to happen is if we don't use him, I'm going to like talk us into using him in another major, and he's going to stink.
I definitely like using him off the majors. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. That's not a shot at him. I'm just saying,
Right.
recently, it's just not been great. Other than the U.S. Open last year, which he ended up kind of pissing away at the end. But I feel more comfortable using him off, not at a major.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want him at the Masters. Like, I'm just gonna hopefully when he wins one, I just won't be there for it. But like, you could talk to me about U.S. Open. You could talk to me PGA's back at Quail Hollow. Like he's always live at the Open. I feel like there's opportunities in the majors, but it's like he
Like he's
also has
won at
one
Quail Hollow in
say,
the past. That feels a little more like I don't know. I don't care who we like. Either one of those I'd be comfortable with. But I don't hate using Rory. To me, he kind of is a momentum player. So if he's playing well and he's coming off a win, that might be good as well. So,
oh man, it's tough. It always just
I'm defaulting to you. Like
I know
I'm going either.
the thing with one and done, and I think you and I think similarly. We always feel like, all right, we're gonna like hold somebody for, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and I don't think we need to do that. We did that last year and it didn't work out. So
yeah.
I'm good with going with Rory. Let's not hold him. Let's just fire him off.
All right, let's do
We
it.
can find Hideki somewhere else.
I like that. All right, we're locking in Rory. Official back nine six pack one and done pick of the week. Until I text you Wednesday and say, hey man, I'm not feeling this, and then we could change it.
I'm waiting for it. Because you don't know. Like, we're recording on a Monday night. Like, it could come out on Wednesday. It's like, yeah, he's not feeling well this week. Like, he's sick or he's coming off of sickness. Then things change pretty quickly. So,
right. Yeah, I'm gonna.
I like taking him. Like I said, I very much like when it's like you kind of just have a hunch about him, and I like that. Like overthinking it sometimes can kind of get you in trouble.
Sure. All right. Well, we'll see if hopefully he stays healthy. We don't get any bad reports, and let's get a Rory W. A little back-to-back win for Rory and one for us.
Yes.
All right. Last thing, no TGL this week, but I figured we'd chat about it because one, I had to chug that beer at the start of the show, and two, there is a triple header next Monday. They're trying to own President's Day. We've got 3 matchups: one at 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 7 o'clock Eastern time. First match, Atlanta Drive against your LAGC. That's 2 of the teams up at the top right now, so big showdown. And then Atlanta gets they're doing a doubleheader amongst the triple header. They're playing the Bay, so another high stakes match with the Bay already having a win on the board. And then the Bay rolls into a doubleheader of their own against my Boston Common Golf, who this is going to be the final stab in my heart here because as I mentioned before, the Bay was kind of like the other team I was debating about, and this could be the last stake like right into me. That would be pain, but I don't know, something to look forward to on a
like what are you doing on you know what I mean? Like I think it's great that they're kind of going to do an all day thing here. I think LA Golf Club can probably even clinch a playoff spot here this week, next week with a win. So I don't even know how many matches do they play. Do you know that? I couldn't.
They have the schedule on the website. I haven't looked into it. I don't know.
Like to me, it's almost like if you have a playoff format and things like that, like the matches can't go much later than probably like the beginning of March. You know what I mean? Maybe
it's done by March. I think it's done before the players. I could be wrong, but I think that's when it's done by.
So it's So we're kind of rounding out some of the matches here. It seems like.
Yeah. So look for that Monday if you need something to flip on while you're sitting around the house on President's Day. So, all right, on to fan mail. Couple things to get to here, actually. So, one, you had asked the question about like sports teams' regular season losses that hurt coming off the back of the Arkansas not beatdown, but defeating Kentucky. So Susie actually pointed this one out to me. We were at the stadium. This is my brother-in-law's senior year playing linebacker at Michigan for the infamous blocked punt return touchdown by Michigan State. Most people probably actually know this from the meme of the guy with the hands on the head.
Yeah, the surrender cobra.
Yeah, the Michigan fan surrender cobra. Yep, that's that game. We were in the stadium for that one. That was like utterly shocking. Also, what happened in that game too was he got kicked out. My brother-in-law got kicked out of the game on like a pretty bad targeting call.
I remember watching that game, and I think I texted like this was before our big group chat, but I think
Yeah,
I texted you like it was like look, I hate Michigan, but it was a bad call. And I
yeah,
remember like, God, he almost killed that guy. Like, like overreaction to it. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
it
It was
was a pretty bad targeting call. It
one of those
was.
where the quarterback's getting tackled, and then a lineman pushed him down on top of him, and they like bumped heads, and it was like, oh,
Yeah, it was
targeting.
bad.
That was the early days of targeting too, where there was a lot of, it was like an
And
automatic. There's no reviewing it back then, right? It was
yeah,
an
and I
automatic.
wish I could say we've come a long way since then, but we haven't. So
No,
no one really knows what targeting is still.
right. So yeah, that was one that she mentioned. I'm glad she reminded me of that. Two, I'm totally vindicated on the dishes front. You came on here and called me psychotic for rinsing my dishes before putting them in the dishwasher. I've gotten 3 texts from different people about this, and also we got a YouTube comment from somebody
That
that just like,
validates my point, by the way. I don't know.
I think his comment was something to the effect of like, bro, what are you gonna do with all that time you're saving with like the 5 seconds it takes to wash it?
I felt, it made that comment made me feel like, Kevin in the office when he starts like talking like taking out
Yes,
like specific words to save time. It was like,
that's exactly what it was. He said, how long does it take to rinse a dish? Like 5 seconds. You're not doing anything special with that time, bro. He hit you with the bro. So that was one. Another one from my guy Trevor. You rinse the fucking dishes, Justin. What a psycho.
I truly feel like I'm on the right side of history with this one, but
Another one
continue.
from Tyler in Tampa. You got to rinse before putting in the dishwasher. You're 100% correct. Easy W for me. And then last one, this one's pretty good from Gunth. His wife works at P&G and is in the soap, their dish soap business, so to speak. His text: professional dish soap saleswoman Chandler Gunther has repeatedly stated that the proper way to use a Dawn dish soap pod is to scrape a plate clean, then throw it in the dishwasher. Get the solid items off the plate, then put it in the dishwasher. To which he replied, she is wrong and P&G makes trash products.
That was me lashing out. P&G
Yeah.
is a great company. I don't want to say
Cincinnati
I'm
company.
not trying to say anything bad.
Yeah.
Although, how many times have you cooked something from a company and the directions have been wrong? Like you're like, oh, this is still not done. You know what I mean?
Fair.
So mistakes can happen on the company front.
They can happen, but I felt like it was important to read those replies into the record to vindicate myself. Last thing I got a text from our guy Kent. Shout out to Kent. He's a longtime listener, fellow elk. He was curious about how the stack system's going for me, which I replied to him and said, I'll give you a quick update, but it's more of a tease for next week. By Thursday, I will have completed the full foundation series, so I'll have my first program complete. At which point I'll have a baseline. I'll have comparative data on that to figure out like how far I've come or whatever. And then it'll also recommend the next step of the training that I should jump into. So tons more to come on that. I'll go more in depth into that next week. But long story short, Kent, we're stacking speed, baby. We're close to 20 miles an hour up in potential speed. Like I said, I texted him today. I have not been able to test that at an actual driving range yet because the weather's been so shitty. So I'm like really itching to get out and hit a golf ball, like for real. But I don't know. There's something about doing the stack that is like, and it's probably because they gamify it, right? Where it's like a little bit of addicting.
Yeah.
But it's like teaching me more about the golf swing because I can tell you, like when you see the number, and your speed's either higher or lower than the previous one, it's like, especially if it's lower, I'm like, oh, like I probably early extended right there. Or like I can feel myself do the move that's like killing my speed. Or like I've been trying to focus on getting more width. And every time that I focus on that, speed is up like automatically.
That's crazy.
So it's like, I don't know. It's like I'm not taking a lesson or I'm not watching my swing. I'm not hitting a golf ball to get like a, the feedback on it. But I can tell you just from the numbers on the monitor that I feel like I'm swinging it better. Or at least I'm putting myself in a better position to swing it faster.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, it's like I'm curious to see how that shakes out. Now I might go to the range and hit the first one like 100 miles,
mega right.
But I like that it gives you something to focus on that's not just like, oh, why am I hitting it left today, or oh, why is it going right all of a sudden? Like it's like it's training, right? That's what it is. So like I enjoy the process of doing the training. So more to come on that next week, but I just wanted to give Kent a quick update since he asked today.
Yeah, I might. I really might be a little late in the winter to do that, but kind of want to get one now.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll go through the data next week, and maybe I'll sell you on it. I'm really curious to see what the next step is. That's kind of where, because like each program, or at least the foundation, has like 4 phases in it. So it's kind of like you make a lot of progress early, and then you kind of hit like a plateau.
Yeah,
And you're just like the last like I don't know 6 sessions that I've done, you go from like what they call full intent swings, which is like how you would swing it if you're trying to hit a golf ball, right? So you're not just like swinging out of your freaking shoes. You're like taking a realistic golf swing. The last like 4 to 6 sessions that I've done, they're like, it's full just max. They load you up with like almost the full weight on it, and you're just like ripping as fast as you
hard
can.
as you can.
Yeah. So I'm curious what the next phase is to see if that, like, after I get past this, like, can I crack that plateau and, kind of find a little bit more speed in the tank?
For sure. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right. With that, we're going to head over to the patio. Anything goes on the patio. I hope to see you on again one day soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Our weather's kind of taking a turn here this week. Back to
snow again.
Yeah. Back to winter. I think when we were doing this last week, we just had like a 60-degree day. So that's fun. I'll go first on this one. This is more like a self-awareness question because I realize this happens to me every year. But do you have like any weird things, like weird habits that you pick up in the winter when you don't like in the summer, nice weather, you don't have, but in the winter, you kind of like see, like mine's different every year. Like I pick up weird stuff just out of boredom, in the winter. But do you have anything that you've like picked up in years past or even this year that you're like, I don't do this any other time than right now because it's more boredom than anything?
Yeah, I mean, God, that's a really good question. I mean, there's definitely seasonality to the year and like the things that you do. I don't know that if I'm aware of them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything weird. Like, what are you thinking? Or like, what have you?
It doesn't even have to be weird. Just like you pick it up in the winter, or you've picked something new. So you want me to tell you mine? Like this year, this is mine. I'm neck deep into the New York Times game app. Like every morning, like when I like maybe not right when I wake up, but like we're waiting for the bus or something with my kids. Like I'm doing Wordle, or like late at night, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do like this. They have like these things like the small crossword puzzles. Yeah, it's supposed to take you less than like 3 minutes to do. They got like a spelling bee. I'm really trying to work on my vocabulary here. So like I picked that up this year, which I know as soon as summer comes, warmer weather, like it's just gonna disappear. Like I'm not gonna do it anymore. I know it because like in years past, like I'll pick up like a video game will come out and like I'll play it until like March, and then it's at night, and then it's just gone after March.
Yeah,
probably until like November or December that year. So those are like 2 examples that I've had.
Yeah, I like wintertime always seems to be like, all right, I'm gonna do a house project kind of thing, and I'm notoriously slow at completing those, so those tend to bleed into the spring a lot of the times. So like right now we're remodeling the basement. That's been a whole process. Zach's playing basketball. That takes it kind of like a toll on the weekends. We've kind of been sick. There's been holiday, like all that stuff. Long story short, yeah, like home improvement projects, that is a theme for me, I think, of like that happens in the winter, right? And it a lot of times like it's good because I'll learn some kind of new skill, like it's as a homeowner, it's good to know those things. I'm not the craziest handy person, but I also compare myself to my dad who like grew up on a farm and has done construction and building inspecting his whole life and all that.
Like you'll figure it out. right?
Yeah, I'm pretty decent at figuring stuff out. Yeah, I mean, video games are kind of dead for me, to be honest with you. I lost the video game playing ways a while ago. Man, I'm just struggling to come up with one. Like, I always try to read, like, I make reading a goal every freaking year, and I start and I do it a little bit, and then that dies when the weather gets better because, you start
That's
getting outside.
yeah, like this. Well, I don't know if have you played any like the New York Times games?
No, I know, like, I'm the prime target for Wordle, and I just have never got into it.
God, I love it. I love it so much. I've got my 11-year-old daughter involved in it now. It's like a family thing. But like I know come like May when Wednesday Night League starts back up and like golf
Yeah,
and yeah, they play a lot of outdoor sports. Like it's just going to be gone. Like but like I caught myself I'm like I do this every year where I pick something up like this. Um like 4 or 5 years ago, it was like this before PGA 2K started coming, PGA Tour 2K started coming back out. Like I found this like weird golf game where you could actually build a course.
yeah,
Like I'm over here building courses at night. You know what I mean? Like just part time golf course architect on Xbox. So like every year I pick something up, but like come March, it's like gone. Like I
yeah.
don't do it anymore. So
I that's a good point too. Is like I haven't found one yet this year, but like for whatever reason, the colder times, whatever, you watch more TV, right? But like I'm definitely known to like pick like a docu series or something, or like I'll hone in on one specific thing. So like a couple years ago, I watched, and Susie came along for this ride too. I watched so many like climbing and like like mountain documentaries
yeah.
and stuff. Like had to be like 20 plus of those things. So like that was a fascination for a while. Um, I was never a Beatles fan growing up, but the Get Back documentary came out on Disney Plus. That thing's like, I don't know, got to be double digit hours long. I
Oh
watched
God.
every minute of that one winter when I would never do that otherwise, probably.
So you just find like your thing kind of like finding stuff to binge watch essentially.
Yeah, I think the theme for me is I get in the mood to like learn about stuff during the winter, right? So whether it's like DIY projects, whether it's a documentary, it's reading something, like that's like my energy in winter is like learning things.
So I guess that's maybe where I am going with like the New York Times app. Like I feel like in the winter most of the time like my brain kind of you just don't think as much, right? When you're bored and things like that and you're not staying like I'm back in the gym and stuff like that, but like what is that? Like an hour and a half, 2 hours of your day maybe. Your brain kind of starts going to sleep on you. So I'm like it's like this maybe be a way to keep me like sharp and on the edge and learn, I can who can't have bigger vocabulary, right? Like I think that's never a bad thing. But I maybe that's what I'm trying to go with. I'll tell you, I like Sudoku. I haven't done that in forever,
Yeah.
but I tell you, it makes you like it keeps your brain kind of firing on all cylinders a little bit. I know it's probably not great. Like there's probably other ways to do it outside of an app, but I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm doing it. So maybe that's where I'm at too.
Yeah, I one other thing too that just came to mind is because of the seasonality. Like during football season, I'm so deep into like football podcasts and stuff that every other podcast or whatever kind of goes to the side wayside. So this time of year, I'm often like I'm catching up on all the podcasts I've neglected for months, or like I'm finding a new one that I want to listen to because there's just like a massive content gap in my world.
Yeah, because football.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I do some catching up because there's a lot of football ones I listen to. Um, but now, like I know you're not as big of a college basketball fan, but like the
yeah,
next thing is really for everybody is the NCAA tournament, which is like less crazy as it is, like less than a month away or about a month away. So,
yep,
so now I get knee deep in in basketball podcasts and things like that. So, yeah, I feel you there.
yeah. That's good. I might need to listen to some of those as well because once March hits, Lord knows I'll be betting it, so I may as well know something about it.
Yeah, I'm a big Ken Palm guy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I'm heavy in the Ken Palm every day. Really, I swear. It's like I'll be like getting ready for bed, and I'm like oh like, and it adjusts like as soon as games are
oh
done,
yeah,
it's adjusting, and So I get on there and like, oh, it's like, this team moved down 6 spots. This team moved up 8 spots, depending on what wins were out there. So I heavy Ken Palm this time of year too.
Yeah, I get that. All right. For me, for whatever reason, I'm stuck in kitchen etiquette right now. And this is not as big of a question as it used to be, but because I work from home now. But back when I was in an office, I was always kind of like curious or bewildered by the etiquette of who makes the next cup or the next pot of coffee. Like, is it the person to take the last of the previous one, or is it the person that needs the coffee next?
So a couple things. Been a while since I've been in an office with an actual coffee pot.
Yeah.
We've got pods in my office.
Mm.
However, I think like even if you're not taking like the last little bit, it's got to be that person that's like, okay, there's less, obviously they mark cups on there, right?
Yeah.
Like if it gets down below like that last measuring line, you're responsible for putting the next pot on. I mean, that like people would probably think like, well, once it's like completely gone, but that like on the burner, that like last like less than the line, like it gets gross. Like no one wants that anyway. Just dump it out and make a new pot. You know what I mean? Like let's not be heathens here.
Yeah, I think this is where I'm torn between like I think that is the correct answer, right? Like that's the etiquette courtesy thing to do. But the logical side of me is like, well, what if no one comes and gets it? Like then I just made a pot of coffee for nobody or whatever. So like maybe that person really should own that. But I agree with you that the common sort of etiquette behind it would be the person that finished it or nearly finished it should make the next one. But you're also right. The pods, Keurig has kind of killed off the office coffee pot.
Yeah, I honestly thought you were going to the dish route again in the office.
No.
Because I break a lot of rules with that.
No.
Yeah, go figure, right? But yeah, the pods have kind of killed the coffee etiquette discussion. However, I guess this brings up another point. The delinquency behind not getting your old pod out after you've brewed it. Like we gotta be better as a society at that.
That is, you know what? That's the new that's the 2025 version of the question I asked, right?
Oh, 100. Like that's a big problem. And it's funny. Like I'll work out in the morning at the Y, and like they just opened this like new coffee bar, and it's got a Keurig. Everything's free. Like a company sponsors it or whatever. And the amount of times I go to get a cup of coffee there, and the old pod is still in the thing, and it's got one of the like mechanicals where it's like you open it and just goes in the back. You don't even have to throw it in a garbage can. You'll still find a pod in there. It is unbelievable how inconsiderate that is.
Yeah, and I think the same rule applies with what you were saying about, if it gets to a certain point in the coffee, like refill it or whatever. Same with the water on the Keurig, right? Like 100%. If you see that thing dipping low, just throw some water in there.
Yeah, like before you put yours on, like use the cup you're going to use. Get water out of the sink. I'm sure there's a sink right there.
Sure.
Get water in that cup, pour it in, and you did your dude. I don't even say you have to like fill it all the way up. Just like put an additional cup in. It'd be nice if you'd fill it up, but like at least put some in where it's like, okay, at the worst, it's going to be back down to the level where it was, right? Instead of being just like almost completely gone. I will say that's the good thing about the one that at the Y that I use a lot. They have a water line, so I don't run into that much, but yeah, that is like the 2025 version of keeping the coffee pot full.
Look at that. You're bringing me into the new age. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, man. All right. Well, a little more kitchen etiquette for everybody out there. I'm glad that we came across lines, shook hands, and agreed on this one.
That's unlike last week.
Too much dissonance between us lately. We needed to find something we could shake hands on. Oh man. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode 91 of the Back Nine Six Pack. Please, if you're still here, subscribe, rate and review the show, smash the like button on YouTube, and follow us on social media at Back Nine Six Pack. And of course, send us some fan mail. Always down in the show description. Click that link and let us know what you want to talk about. And until next time, cheers.
See ya. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Back 9 Six Pack. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Back 9 Six Pack for all your content needs. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers.